Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wavemakers Podcast, where we focus on the stories of the people front-running the maritime decarbonization. My guest today, I would say, is a lifelong learner and an adventurer. He started his career in oil and gas in former Soviet Union countries and then moved his way over to setting up renewable energy projects, some multi-billion-dollar projects even, to then navigate towards maritime decarbonization and driving the maritime industry to uptake the alternative fuels. He was a former COO of the Methanol Institute, and he's also a board member at IBIA, and his latest venture is a managing director at the Green Maritime Group. But all these hats aside, today we will learn who Chris Chatterton is beyond all this and how it feels to drive the change. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much, Gordana.
I love your WhatsApp tagline, whatever you are, be a good one.
Yes.
So how would you describe yourself in your own words?
Well, I think I would start off by saying that I'm driven by innovation and execution. So I'm somebody who likes to play the two extremes, I guess you could say, and they're going hand in hand in everything I try to get involved with. And I'm a lifelong learner, I guess I would say. I like to read a lot. Unfortunately, I don't get to read a lot of the things that I would just take pure pleasure in. But in this day and age, and with decarbonization really becoming the center stage, it's not just a pilot program or a side plan. It's really the plan in today's business world, and in shipping, it's no less the case. So I spend a lot of time reading about people doing fantastic things with new technologies and introducing new fuels, and I like to kind of connect the dots between these two worlds.
And how did it feel going back to kind of some years back before this was a popular topic? How was it for you starting from oil and gas and kind of moving your way to more renewable industry?
It was miserable because nobody really, I think, enjoyed it, or I mean, not many of us really understood it. To be fair, and there were many failures along the way. I've been involved in quite a few different projects that started off well, but there really wasn't the support globally for these types of initiatives previously. So even if I go back to my days at the Methanol Institute, going back some maybe 10 years ago, and talking about renewable fuels or renewable methanol, and I remember I was always the last person to present at any event on the last day, dead last. And usually they were sweeping up the floors and stacking the chairs while I was delivering my monologue. So yeah, so it's come a long way, and it's been very challenging, but we're fortunate enough to be at a point in time where it's really, like I say, is taking center stage, and it's a very important initiative, and one that affects everybody. So I'm happy to be in this space, and happy to have made the sacrifices to get here. So it's been worth it.
Yes, I can relate to you because I joined Maersk just when they started the decarbonization journey. Of course, Methanol being at the front side of it all, and I would go to conferences. People were angry, people were very angry about the whole topic. So I can identify a little bit with that pushback that you got. But when I look at your career, I see that you don't seem to be afraid of venturing into unknown. You like setting it from 0 to 1.
Yeah, it's one thing I can say about having come from traditional energy, and a few forays back and forth into renewables and then back again, and now in shipping, it's made me much more resilient and much more pragmatic, a bit more grounded, you could say. Shipping moves on a different basis. It's not shipping isn't buying into hype. It's based on relationships. It's based on risk aversion and resilience. Yeah. So.
I also wonder what is it about shipping so much, because I've also experienced that. It really grounded me, and okay, we will move, but at our own pace and for good reasons. So, what is your experience? What is about shipping that gave you that feeling?
Well, I've always been, although I'm not an engineer, but I've always been technically inclined, and I was very into very much a petrol head, in my youth, racing cars and things like this, motorcycles, and I was just in awe of these engines that are propelling these massive floating, behemoths. So. And I was really amazed at the technology and the people that were behind the technology. I remember the first time I had the chance to get introduced to MAN, which is now Everlance, in Copenhagen, and the first time I boarded the Stena Germanica, which was the first methanol retrofit. I think it's the world's 5th largest RoPax carrier, but yeah, just amazing machines and amazing teams of people that operate, such incredible machinery. So that was really my kind of turning point. I was quite impressed by it's shipping was even then was considered to be a bit outdated industry, but I never saw it like that. It was for me, it was quite high tech. It was quite, and you can see now the level of innovation, the level of technology is, it's just scaling at a magnitude in shipping, especially.
Yeah, I also saw recently one of the LinkedIn posts that was explaining how even the requirements on a CV have changed so drastically, how the industry requires for much more technical knowledge, and I find it to be fascinating. Like the last few years in shipping, I think it's totally transforming the industry in many ways.
I mean, the two buzzwords are obviously decarbonization and digitalization. Digitalization is really what's I think driving a new breed or a new wave of young talent into shipping and into similar industries, which have sort of fell into a bit of decline, but are now again based on technology, available technology. It's really scaling, very fast.
It's been almost 10 years for you in the Methanol Institute, so you've been in this for a very long time.
Yeah, it was quite a steep learning curve for me. Again, I'm not an engineer by training, so getting to understand from a chemical industry perspective, how the product itself performs was one level, but then having to onboard it onto a ship, which I knew nothing about, very little about at the time, was quite another. And understanding the technical language was like a completely learning a new language. Yeah. So I have many kind of funny stories about that where I was caught out, but fortunately I've been able to refine my trade and my delivery a little bit over the years. So So
what would you say is your superpower?
my superpower, I don't know that I have one. Although I was kind of diagnosed ADHD, I can say, when I was young, and one of my sons is a little bit ADHD as well. Back in the day, it was just called hyperactivity, but it's a bit of a superpower, and I tell my kids this all the time. Don't think of it as a liability. It's really kind of a bit of a superpower. But in my sort of line of work and with my the work that I'm doing in maritime space, it's really about connecting the dots, as I referred to before. So I kind of think my superpower, if it could be worded like that, is more about connecting people with capital and with ideas and with execution. So that's maybe my maybe my strong point.
Catalysis.
Yeah,
You catalyze the
something
process.
like this. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's really nice. And I have this funny question that I ask everyone. If you were a ship, which ship would you be and why?
I just made a post about Lego, and I used a Lego ship on LinkedIn not long ago. But I think if I was a ship, I would be something like a multi-purpose, mid-size, something able to handle multi cargoes, and I could, for the most part, go anywhere, and be more things to more people, and as such, I think I would be more valuable, and in that respect, I guess I would probably also be able to entertain more innovative voyages or more innovative cargo moves, things like this.
Looking a little bit forward and being able to guide generations that are coming into this space, what would you advise them how to find their path in this whole segment of maritime decarb? Because usually they come and they're like, oh, I want to do something in this space. I resonate with the purpose. So how would you help them guide their way?
Well, it's not easy to bring young people into shipping these days. I mean, because not many want to really. A lot have a passion for sailing and for shipping, but maybe less so to spend so much time at sea. So it's not easy to attract younger people and younger talent. But with the innovation of decarbonization, digitalization, that's actually driving a lot more interest for younger people to get involved, and they're finding that there really is a lot of room to grow, and in many different directions. We have so many different types of propulsion now available. We're commenting on this, the wind sails and wind assisted propulsion, for example, but the new fuels like methanol, ethanol, ammonia require very high levels of technical know-how and expertise. So that, I think, is one of the main drivers. And then enabling that is, as I always suggest to people, to follow your passion. I have one son who is very much into aviation, so he's obtaining his private pilot's license right now. He's 15, and he's quite happy, in this space. And I can see, if you're happy, with what you're doing and what you're involved with and how you make a living, from that, then you're going to go much further in life for sure, and you're going to have a better life. You won't see yourself as being stuck in a grind, so to speak. So my advice would be to follow your passion, but also to never sacrifice good for perfect. So there's no perfect fit. There's no perfect profession or no perfect technology. So follow your passion and don't sacrifice good for perfect. So.
And this was a lesson I had to learn, I think, because I was very much a perfectionist.
You're a perfectionist, yeah.
Especially because now it's not my first time being an entrepreneur. So that journey very much teaches you to not strive for perfection, because time passes and there's so many other things that you have to balance out.
Yeah.
But it took me a while, I think, over my 20s to get there. And it's hard. When I was doing research, I actually did catalysis, like methane to methanol conversions. Yes. So I was very much early in the game as well. And even that part where you're doing something that has never been done before and you keep failing. I remember I was doing this one same reaction 15, 16 times a day setup. I was failing every day for 8 months. And eventually, when it worked, it was finally Chinese New Year. I was like still working. And finally, it worked. I was like, I was crying out of happiness. But at the same time, I was like crying, like, oh my God, it starts the next step. Now it's again that. But then when I reached that point after 8 months, like I was so good in the next steps. And I didn't see that, but it was perfecting that little tiny part of the whole equation that gave me all the skills I needed for everything afterwards. And sometimes I feel like innovation doesn't get enough spotlight for that.
Yeah, and believing in yourself. Yeah, so you, yeah, that's good. So you managing your expectations, and you find at the end of the day that you're probably the best expert out there. So
I don't think I'm ever at that stage of self-appraisal, but yeah, that would help. I think a lot because the doubt is a natural part of everyone's journey, and I also it's interesting because I hear that, but also I gave a promise to myself, early in my I think 20s, and I said, "You will always do what scares you the most. So if I am afraid of something, I will just do it, and that's a rule." I still live by that, and it's aligned with me. But it's a challenging journey, I would say. But it was interesting combining these two, like this doubt and just this kind of decision to just do it.
I'm with you, because I practically my whole career, if you could call it that, I've done the same. Any challenge, I was always intrigued, and just wondering if I could do it, from a personal perspective. And I always took the challenge. If there was a choice, I would always go with the let's do it.
It's going to new places, also many new.
So it's taken me many different places, and I've met a lot of different people as a result. And those experiences, they weren't all good, but the experiences were fantastic building blocks, that helped me to get where I am today. So,
and when you look back, it must be a pretty exciting movie.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's done all kinds of things, and I can tell you just a little bit about my personal life. So I was adopted from birth. I never knew my birth parents, but with technology came these DNA mapping apps. So 2.5 years ago, I jumped on 2 of them, and I found that I had 3 brothers.
Wow.
And 2 of them are from the same mother. So we got together, the 2 from the same mother, and connected right away. Really, it's like we knew each other our whole lives. But just met, and we're all in our 50s at the time, and it was the same. We were kind of joking that we should probably have a movie because we have so many similarities. Even we all each have a son named Philip. We all have many other similarities that when we never knew each other growing up. So it's kind of cool.
Wow, that is just mind blowing. It's just the first association is when you have that moment, you're like, there is something greater. Like, how does this happen? What are the odds of this, right?
Yeah. So it's quite, you can always learn something, from whoever you're going to meet. Even, today, meeting yourself. I already have learned a few things. So
I always had, I actually wanted to adopt. I started with a dog, but I always wanted this, even when I was like a teenager. I was wondering how it feels to be on the other side. Yeah, just like, what is that experience like? Would I step into someone's kind of like territory? Who am I to write the future for this person? But it comes from a good place.
It's probably one of the one of the noblest things you could do. And
Well, thank you.
100% support. If you do it, do it.
the reason why I was referring to kind of this journey of venturing into unknown and facing questions and still doing it is also because I feel that maybe when I was younger, I wish I knew this, because I wish I knew that that's a normal part of the process, and that even the most successful people have that journey and that experience. And I remember once being with one of the Microsoft executives, and he said in one of the projects that I've done before, and he said, I still don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of, I've done it so many times and it worked. So I just kind of have a trend of success that gives me faith that it will work. And when it comes to decarbonization, also entrepreneurs working on a lot of this hardware tech, facing expectations and these fears, they're still doing their best into a totally unknown field. So I think they should give themselves credit for paving the way for everyone else, so that we can learn from each other.
Yeah. There's a lot you can learn from people in these roles. That I mean, there are many greats. We're really fortunate to be in this point in time. With so many fantastic minds doing so many fantastic things, and there are some trends you can pick up on across them, but like you say, probably the most prevalent is these people are very persistent. They don't give up, and they're not willing to accept no for an answer. If they believe in it. So these are people of faith generally, and they have strong conviction to their purpose. They're purpose driven, and that's what I also try to incorporate whenever I get involved in a particular project, is to focus, and try to again, because I'm not a technical person to begin with, but try to boil down complex subject matter into more simple, bite-sized bits, so that it's easier maybe to progress it.
And back to the different roles one can play within maritime, I think marketing and communication is also very important, especially
Absolutely.
because none of these projects would likely take off if there's no someone who's translating that in simple ways that can resonate with many and bring all the different stakeholders to the same page, and people who are volunteering to join some of these test vessels and test technologies, they wouldn't be as excited to be a part of it. So it's a very important role as well.
And it takes a lot of advocacy and raising not only the awareness, but educating, to at least a minimum degree, so that different faces or different people can relate in their own way, and they can then move to support or otherwise, given the tools that they have at hand, whether it's policy or it's purely technical innovation, or it's something to do with maybe how that product or that asset is traded, or how it's funded. And so there are many aspects, and it's only getting more complex, and that's maybe one of the most challenging things, is just communicating how you can incorporate so many different routes to sustainability in a way that will make sense and that resonates economically and say strategically.
And I know that on LinkedIn lately you've been sharing strongly your opinions about ethanol as one of the future fuels. How do you see, in your perfect world, the world in 2050? So now you can scrape what is possible, impossible in your painting.
Really like methanol from day one, because it's the simplest alcohol molecule, and single carbon bond, and it's very simple to understand, and we know a lot about it. It's been used as a fuel for many years. Ethanol is really no different. There's a lot known about it. It's a cousin to methanol. And so it's really not surprising that it's being suggested to be used as a ship fuel now. So, and if I go back to say 2020, when methanol was approved and confirmed for inclusion in the IGF code at IMO, it was always stated as ethyl alcohols, nothing less, not just methanol and not just ethanol, but at that time, and that was just 5 years ago, the ethanol markets were focused on different application, mainly gasoline fuel blending. But over the past 5 years, we've seen more EVs come to market. We've seen more efficient vehicles in general come to market, so they're consuming even less. So, and now we have the aviation industry beginning to decarbonize as well. Both methanol and ethanol are used as feeds for alcohol-to-jet pathway for aviation fuel, sustainable aviation fuel. And as it's been used more so in the chemical industry, it's also quite well known with many sub-vertical applications out there. Everything from cooking fuel to boiler fuel. And now that's all that technology is finding its way into shipping, where it's in demand to find lower carbon fuels. Methanol certainly ticks that box, and ethanol maybe ticks it even harder. So it's ethanol has even some advantages over methanol. It's less toxic, significantly so. It's a little bit higher energy density, which is a nice thing when we're talking about placing energy on board. And it's also already, because it's a biofuel, it's already low carbon, and it can be brought down to almost zero emissions with the help of, say, carbon capture technology, which is another technology that's again finding its way not only into the market on the fuel production side for all these fuels, but also now on board vessels. So you can see the market is developing rapidly, and we need all these technologies. We need all these fuels. And maybe some of my more recent activity has been more focused on ethanol, because we've been working on methanol for quite some time, and there's a lot more known about it now as a ship fuel, and we have we're on track to see probably somewhere north of 1,000 vessels, methanol dual fuel vessels by 2030. So ethanol can certainly play a highly complementary role to methanol's uptake, and I believe that the engine testing will take place in the next couple months. So you can look to see more news coming from the engine OEMs themselves, and then we'll likely see by first or second quarter next year, we'll see already ethanol calibrated engines, methanol dual fuel engines that have been calibrated to run on ethanol. So it's nice to see these these base hits, and it's nice to see the industry continuing to evolve and continuing to embrace new technology and new fuels,
and getting more options to handle the risks.
So and with every option, with every innovation, it gets a little bit more affordable, and a little bit more doable, and a little bit more bankable. So we like that a lot.
Looking at fuels, but also technologies, how would you compose your portfolio?
I was asked that question actually about 5 years ago, and I said I would, at that time I would just scrub my vessels, But today, I would probably still look to do some biofuel. I mean, that's the low hanging fruit, but we're quickly, I think, going to unless we see more feeds come available at a economically available, that is, we're reaching the ceiling of what we can do, how far we can go with biofuel, like used cooking oil.
Yeah.
I'm referring to. So I would obviously use that, but methanol is it's an easy one, really. And you can start with gray methanol. You don't have to start with all green. That's we are keen to let people know about this. Having a dual fuel engine is an option, just like you say. That's the correct way to approach it. It's an option. So you can still burn fuel oil, but you have the option to burn another fuel, and soon you will have the option to burn two more fuels on that same engine, methanol and ethanol. And if you can do it in a cost-effective way, you can obviously bring down your emissions. So you can not only be compliant, but if you want to go beyond that, you're certainly welcome to. There's enough of the fuel produced globally, so I would do the same: biofuel, methanol, ethanol, and ammonia. Eventually, I think it will be a good fuel. Maybe we'll see some biomethane, but anything bio generally tends to be more localized, so it's more limited from a scale perspective. So, but having said that, I would, if I had 100 million, I could easily retrofit 5 or 6 ships, and if I have a mid-sized fleet, that's going to be good enough to get me to 2035 and maybe beyond.
So now we have an advice for a smaller ship owner.
They
can start.
And that's also one of the kind of the key benefits of the alcohols, is that you can retrofit economically these any vessel that's electronically ignited. That's maybe 1995, 1996 circa vessel. So you can retrofit these to an alcohol fairly easily.
What is exciting you in let's say for the next 1 year? Which project that you're working on is the most exciting?
Well, if to be honest, I have one other entity. It's called Carbon 3, and this is focused on Scope 3 emissions insetting, where we work to facilitate investments that are focused on mainly Scope 2 emissions, but those Scope 2 emissions usually represent also a Scope 3 emissions for another supply chain stakeholder partner. So we're working to develop this platform further to not only, as I mentioned, facilitate insetting of emissions reductions investments within the supply chain itself between, say, like-minded partners, but also to accelerate, because if I can receive a Scope 3 emissions reduction through my supply chain partner, then maybe I'll be more inclined to participate in his future projects and scale his ambitions at the same time, as well as lowering emissions in general, and we do that by insetting, not by offsetting.
Yeah.
So I think this is quite exciting, and I see it's also beyond the technology and the fuels, which are driving Scope 1 and 2 emissions. This is the next stage of emissions reductions, Scope 3 and Scope 4, where we really focus on higher levels of collaboration and further supply chain and value chain integration.
I am familiar with that as well a bit, and I know also from the ecosystem perspective that, like, okay, we've been dealing with this for so long, and it depends always of the geopolitical situation whether we go all in or not, and how much.
This type of activity, sustainability, it really requires a very, very high degree of collaboration. One company cannot do it. It just takes a lot of cooperation. So it's not so much competition. Of course, these are commercially sensitive investments because policy is now driving the commercialization of decarbonization, but it's more like a co-opetition. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And so by moving together and by focusing on insets, and there are quite a few successful models out there. Many larger organizations are now even incentivizing their top management with insetting programs and with a focus on Scope 3 emissions.
Mm-hmm.
It's that important, and it's the Scope 3 emissions insetting that really, like you say, catalyzes the sustainability, of any investment. So
Yes, I feel that is the lock-in part.
yeah.
And it's what binds the end customer and the originator in a way.
Yeah.
And with different activities happening, when do you find the time to unwind? How do you recharge?
I mean, sometimes I hit the gym. It's almost like a little temple for me to get in the gym, and blow off some steam. But I like to play ice hockey, and we lost our rink here in Singapore a couple of years ago. But there's talks that we may get a new one soon. But still skating and trying to. I had a back injury a couple of years ago that sidelined me a couple times, but yeah, I like to skate a lot, and you can find me in East Coast Park inline skating as well. So, so yeah, I've done a lot of sports, but those are kind of the two I sort of hang with these days. And I have 2 kids still at home. I've got 4 total, but 2 kids still at home, so quite active with them as well too. So.
Thank you. Well, I also give the opportunity to switch the mic. So if you want to be the interviewer, you can.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that's a nice option. And I also have, we talked a lot about advocacy and communication, and I think podcasts are really a wonderful way to do it, because we've organized over the years, lots of webinars and live events and things like this, and they're always interesting. But I think always, in fact, the most relevant panels are the panels where there's no script, there's no presentations being made. It's just point blank questions to leaders in industry, and these are always the top panels, like in some of the shipping events. And it would be nice, I think, to continue this type of series. So I'm going to ask you if you would be interested to help me to do this on a couple of fuels. Yeah,
I would be happy to do it.
I think it could be interesting.
Thank you. Well, I find it's more affordable nowadays to leverage these options and different channels of communication. And somehow there are 2 sides of why I'm doing it. One part is that I want to spread the message to engage the community, because that's my nature. I love bringing communities together, and I find it as a great channel to do it. And then the other part of it is that I really love the in-person connection. And also we normally have the opportunity to see people just from the title that they are doing at the moment, and they switch companies. And I have experienced also that people see me as what she says is this company's voice. But there's so much that we learn as people throughout the journey of playing these different roles. And at the end, I somehow believe that when we recognize each other as people through some shared experiences or thoughts, then this spark goes on and actually moves the change. So maybe not immediately, but I believe that someone maybe will watch it and take a sentence, and maybe this sentence will carry them through in 3 years when they're facing a block or need extra motivation or wonder, is this okay that I'm now experiencing? So I'm kind of throwing it out there into the world with hope that we plant seeds for future.
I think it's absolutely the right way to go. I mean, I pick up a lot of those types of moments from my kids, you know, and they're only 11 and 16, the two that are still home. And I like, for example, I had a very good friend, a former partner of mine. His niece used to be the editor-in-chief for Financial Times in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a lot of interviewing of top people, and really became like an expert in top management. Yeah, and I see I follow one other person on Instagram. His handle is School of Hard Knocks, and he's 22, I think, 23, but he's interviewed everybody, you know, who's who, just on the street, you know, 1 minute little interviews, and fantastic. And you can see he's educated himself to, you know, fantastically, you know, over the past 2 years that he's been doing it. Yeah.
I think I know who you're referring to, but I just don't know the title, but I'm following the shorts on Instagram.
He's interviewed everybody that's anybody, so it's like
well,
we should do the same in shipping, maybe.
Maybe, yes. Thank you very much for being my guest today and sharing your experiences and some glimpses of the past. And I hope to do this more, and that we can also look into it some years later and see if we were right about this portfolio.
Well, let's hope, yeah. And thank you very much for having me. Thank you for reaching out. And let's hope that maybe something we discussed will be useful for somebody and they will take it to the next level.